Okay, so hello, uranium friends. So starting off this video here with the URA SPY monthly ratio chart. Now, as you can see, plain and simple, it's really in a defined range. It's tightening up a little bit, of course, but it's still just in a range, and it's kind of at the lower end of its range. So we're going to zoom in a little bit now into the weekly, excuse me, and see what we see here. So same deal. It's still just kind of pushing its way down. Relative weakness compared to SPY. Just chop zone, chop zone, chop zone, chop zone. One distinct thing that we could maybe garner a little positivity out of is this lower wick here. So, let's see what this lower wick looks like as you zoom into the daily, right? So this is what multiple time frame analysis is all about, right? Don't just stick with one. I'm not sticking with one thing. I'm looking at all of my time frames right now because what am I trying to do? Well, I'm trying to identify, the possibility of a turn in our sector, and maybe there's some subtle signs that are kind of revealing themselves here. So this is one of those spots here on the daily. So we've just had this continued weakness of just new lows every single time for quite some time, really. I mean, since January. So all new lows, and same thing again here. So it makes this low. It's struggling. It can't get up there, and it makes a new low, right? So same deal here. Started to struggle, but we've had a distinct little change here, right? So it has not made the new low here, and it's actually continued on and taken out this little swing high. So this is just a small, subtle change that I'm paying attention to right now. When trying to determine, has the uranium sector taken a temporary turn towards a positive? And so this is one subtle sign where we can say, hey, maybe it has. Is it still in a range? It absolutely is, right? The weekly tells you that, but we've got this lower wick, and we've kind of pushed through a decent upper side of the range here. This thing doesn't change really for me until we get through these highs with conviction. But subtle change right here, okay? Higher low and a new high, setting that higher low. So it's a subtle change. So, in a situation like that, I'm going to mark this up just so I have it there, and I'll deal with the rest later. That's what we're looking at here with the URA SPY ratio, a little bit of a subtle positivity. So let's take a look at the ETF. So URA, URNM, and URNJ, they've just been chopping. So, just when you look at this chart here, you can just see URA is actually a little bit stronger than URNM and URNJ in that it's, literally, 20 cents, 30 cents away from its breaking out of its range. I mean, if you want to start to incorporate these guys into the range, 30, 40 cents, whatever it might be. But, let's just, for all intents and purposes, about 1% of getting through the highs of its range that it's been stuck in for a while. And again, a decent pivot here and a good move, and we've got some volume behind it. So, we're going to see what this week holds, but a little bit of a positive sign there, especially since it took out this last pivot high. Same deal action-wise with URNM, but again, URNM is probably about 2.5% away from taking out its range high here. But again, the same deal, right? It finally took out this lower high here, confirming that this is now set as the pivot area for now, And URNJ, as I posted this in on Twitter this past week, but it's finally truly made a daily trend change for the first time, and all that this means is that we've had your low, you have your high, you had your higher low, and you've taken out this high, so you've confirmed your daily trend change. You've set your higher low for now at 1416, and you have your first daily trend change for URNJ. So it's again, subtle signs. Okay, so URNJ never had a daily trend change, even through all of this action. It went on to not make a higher high and made a newer low, a lower low. So we have a subtle change sector-wise because of URNJ, right? Finally, a daily trend change. So where's our subtle changes so far? Well, URA SPY ratio, subtle change, right? URNJ, daily trend change, subtle change. U.UN on the monthly. So looks like a second inside bar is forming. It's early in the month yet, so to make that determination, it's I'm not even. It's an inside bar at the moment. To say that it's going to remain as an inside bar this month, well, that would just be silly on my part. So this trend line, and I'm not a big trend line trader, but I mean it's fairly legit, especially when you look at the weekly chart, right? So you've had all these solid touches. It's a good trend line. And when you're on the weekly here, it's struggling a little bit to get back over it once it's lost it. So, it U.UN looks like it may want to just be range bound a little bit. We'll see. But the previous week it did take out these range tops. So reasonable to get a back test somewhere in here and see where how deep this retracement is kind of where I stand with it. But subtle change, right? U.UN took out its weekly range. Here's the daily. A little bit of a double bottom. I guess there's a higher low here. So, just for my purposes, I want to get an alert there. If that changes. So, and this higher low is set because this on Friday it took out Thursday's high. So, just walking its way up. Nothing, horrible. Nothing great. It took out, like we said, the subtle change is that we've taken out the top of this range, and there's a little bit of a back test there. Let's see how it plays out this week. We're still above the 200-day moving average. We still have all these moving averages below that are kind of working as support. Uh, Not bad, right? So U.UN has actually been a better performer than most of the mining equities, other than our good friend CCJ. So CCJ on the monthly, yeah, it had April was a monthly inside bar, and it broke at bull, which is a nice thing to see. We still have, it's no question in my mind the strongest name in the space. I'm sure there are people who just for some reason think that CCJ isn't the place to be. That's fine. It's a good trader. So yeah, a monthly inside bar bull break. There's no follow through yet. It's early in the month. Good to see. The weekly, it's still range bound. We still have a range here that we're dealing with. So, it'll be a much more significant situation when it takes out this high. What is that high? 2973, right? Yeah, 2973. So it'll be very notable if it takes out this high. But again, we're using this EMA, the moving average stack, as support, right? So it's good look. We're above the 200-day moving average. It's been bouncing off of it for multiple weeks now. So even this break of it, this bear break of the 200-day, didn't see a lot of follow through. So positive signs there along the way. We know that CCJ is the strongest in the space. Here's your daily pivot. This daily higher low for the moment is set because it did take out Thursday's high, and all eyes are now going to be on this 2814, 2815. All right, so for some continuation. So as you can see, again, subtle changes, right? Even CCJ, the stronger one of the strongest names, been rejecting here, makes a double bottom, makes a new high, makes a higher low, struggles at that pivot, right? Makes a higher low. This time it doesn't struggle, it gets through. It's just made a higher low. So now let's see what happens here. We've got a lot of action here in the volume profile, but these are subtle changes that we're just trying to keep an eye on. Encore Energy. So before I even keep that on, let me just take this off for a second. Encore Energy, let's just take a quick look at the monthly. So, you look at this monthly chart and you go, all right, well, there's not much good going on here with this chart. So, let's just look for what these subtle changes are and see if there are any here on this chart. So, not really here. The one thing we could say is that it took out last month's high. No, it's a double top at the moment. So, nothing's changed, and this is just continuing on with making monthly lower lows. So we're not gleaning anything as change-wise as far as Encore is concerned. Now we've got a lot of share overhang and warrant overhang and all those good things. With the weekly, I guess we can call this a double bottom. There was decent volume. We are having a fair increase in volume here on Encore on this weekly chart. So, and we are just still struggling to get above this here, where this, pivot is. So right now, our weekly higher low is, well, is it a higher low? Hold on. 17. No, it's a lower low. So this weekly low right now is set as it did take out the high. So let's see what kind of follow through we get. That's what we're looking for. Can we get any clues on the daily? Yeah, I guess we can, right? So we've got a daily trend change here. And Encore, it saw a daily trend change here. And the 50-day moving average gave it some big time rejection. But, so what's the subtle change here is, we've gotten a daily trend change and we've gotten over all of these moving averages, including the 50-day moving average. So one could say that this pivot that I could be working off of, which for sure I am at this moment, is this $1.99. So there's some slight positives and some subtle changes with Encore as well. We're going to need to get over this 229 to see whether we have any conviction. And the volume has increased a little bit, which is also nice to see, right? So you've had these past 3 days off of this pivot, so increasing volume each day. We saw some good volume ramp ups here and some lower volume sell offs, which is also good to see. So not horrible, not great. Encore's got a lot of share overhang. So just to go back, sometimes I look at these and for some reason I pulled it up on this one. So this is basically a standard deviation channel. And you get the whole life of basically the life of Encore here with this channel. So, a lot of times, reversion to the mean traders, what they're looking for. What's the mean? This yellow line is the mean, right? This is the midline of this move so far. So we've gotten into the second standard deviation here, and it's seeing a bounce here. So we'll see how that plays out. But when you come to the weekly, and what's cool about this particular um, indicator is that if it has enough data, it'll start to take in a shorter time frame and build a new linear regression channel. So you still have your long-term one, and that's again it's at the second standard deviation channel. So, but when we can zoom in on this. Zoom in on this time frame on the weekly, and it's showing that it's just dancing around this midline here. So it's had a little bit of reversion to the mean off of this pullback, right? And it's done it before, and it's been a lot of rejections here. It's gotten through, and it's gotten a lot of rejections, and it's making its way through. So bottom line is that it's still in this range. But we're looking at this linear rejection channel. You start to see the standard deviation of the shorter term time frame, the first standard deviation. It's lining up with the second standard deviation. So it could give you, the technical analyst a little bit of a spot to say, hey, this is a pretty big spot. So if it doesn't hold here, we could see continued downside, obviously. So do you necessarily need these channels for that? No, not really. But sometimes it's good to take a look where you want to try to get as many indicators as you can that line up and help you out maybe to make a decision. So UEC, the action hasn't been great here either. We're seeing a little bit of a bounce, but you look at this monthly chart and it's just all down. You have this bear flag. It's looking to possibly confirm, but the long story is that this is still a bull pennant from this low to this high, right? So we're only coming into the 38% retracement. And if you do that, and that's in log scale, if you do it in linear scale, you have a different story. So again, these are sometimes when I switch from log to linear and I see these fibs, we're getting a golden pocket bounce here. This is right at the golden pocket where one would expect an equity to get some sort of bounce. So, and that is lining up basically with the 38% retracement here. So, we'll see. Does that mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Well, it's just, again, we're just trying to find subtle changes because we all want to know, has the uranium sector turned? And no, but there are some subtle changes to keep an eye on. So the weekly low at the moment is set at 230 because, again, it took this out, but nothing special here, right? So it's still just making, it's still stair-stepping down every week. Is basically a lower high. So this is, again, one of these subtle changes. So you've had all these lower highs for, basically since January, right? So now we have a little subtle change because this weekly lower high pattern has been broken. This is a long weekly stair step of lower highs every single week since January. And now that's changed, and it's changed with a good solid candle. It's not just a wick. So, let's see how the follow through goes. We'll zoom into the daily. And again, it's a subtle change, right? So it's taken out its range, which it's constantly on the way down has been struggling with. It's also been struggling with this 12 EMA the whole way down. A couple of little fake out. There's a little fake out breakout there, but the 12 EMA has been holding this down. Well, we're decidedly through that, right? So again, a subtle change took out its daily range. Pretty much got through the 12 EMA with some conviction here. So weekly stair step of the lower high since January has broken. So, again, subtle change. Next gen, I know a lot of people get all uh, bummed out about the CEO compensation. Yeah, me personally, I whatever. Who cares? Like I said, this is a great trading name. So, again, here's a little bit of a this monthly is just it's at the bottom of its range, right? So, there's opportunities, I guess, to be positioning up here. If any trader wants to decide, to play off the bottom of this range, I've posted Next Gen for a couple of years now. It loves to play its ranges, and you can get some good, solid 10-15% trades inside these ranges, but you just have to let it establish its range. This was a great range, right? Once it broke, now we're starting to look down here at this range. That's kind of how it's being played out. Um, Next Gen weekly, took out this weekly range. There's not much in the way of follow through here. So, nothing special to report there. Same thing with the daily. I guess this daily higher low is now set with a double bottom at 371. But we still need for anything to really to have a little bit more conviction in the name at the moment. We'd like to see this daily double top of 404 break. You've got we have a pretty good 512 EMA cross here, and it does look like The 12 is trying to get through, the red line, which is the 12, is trying to get through the 26. And we have not seen that dynamic occur really since December. January was the last time we've gotten that cross. And that cross did result in, I'll just estimate it, 20%. Take that with a grain of salt, obviously, but it's these again. This is a little bit of a subtle change because we haven't seen it since. Let's see, where is that across here? Yeah, since January, right? Yeah, December. We haven't seen that cross, so a little bit of a subtle change. It still has to work its way through this range here, but it did get through some of this volume resistance, and we have a little bit of an air pocket. So if you're looking at volume profile, I'm probably expecting trouble right where this double top is, right around $4. The volume profile supports trouble there. The double top supports trouble there. You got the 200-day looming above as well. UUUU monthly. Let me just see something here. Get this out of the way. The monthly inside bar broke bull, so that's a nice. It's a nice little sign for us, right? We have a bull break on the monthly inside bar. All this, but we still need to see follow through and continuation. Maybe it establishes a range here in order to build up some support and leg up. We're in a chop zone on the volume profile. There's bag holders in here who are going to get broken even and going to want to sell. I mean, that's just part of the nature of the game, right? Yeah, a nice, again, a subtle little change here. We've gotten through this weekly range, and we've overtaken this 12 EMA again. So subtle change. It doesn't mean that Moon Lambo. I don't think it does at the moment, but who knows? You never know. Good positive sign. Got through this weekly range that we've been chopping through since the beginning of March. Okay, so subtle changes. Up on the daily, you can see again, it's a lot of struggles at these highs here, and now it's gotten through and it's made a nice little pivot. And we have a lot of open air here on this volume profile. Let's just kind of get more data in there. All right, so yeah, like we could run into some problems up here with the volume profile, and it makes sense, right? We have all of this chop zone area, a lot of, if you drew a horizontal support line, and it really is, this is where this Fibonacci is, which is probably it's the 23. So, just to go back to these fibs for a second, this is a one heck of a bull monthly bull pennant. It's a strong name in log scale. So you go to linear and you've gotten a golden pocket bounce. So these are, Fibonacci guys, if they're looking at both of the log and linear, they like to get this confluence here. So you got a golden pocket bounce in linear, and you're up at the 23% retracement on log. So, we can talk about, you want to see those confluences there, but it's again subtle changes. That's what you're looking for. So we took out this whole trading range on the daily chart, and it did it with some volume, and it did it with some strong, closing strong at the highs. Oh, good sign, right? So, and we've gotten all these moving averages. The 50-day still needs to curl up, but these tighter moving averages are all curling up, so not bad. Denison monthly chart. Let's see. Denison monthly doesn't look anything. It's just a range bound name again, right? So $1.50 to what? 90 cents, 92 cents, 92 to $1.50. That's your range. Nothing to show there as far as a subtle change. Same thing on the weekly, being held down by the 12 EMA. Still in a range here, kind of a little bit towards the upper middle part of the range. And the daily is not giving us any special signals either. And that's about it with Denison. It doesn't, it doesn't have anything to say that it's doing anything special. So, some subtle changes. URA SPY ratio is making some headway. Our ETFs are making some headway. U.UN is making some headway. It's got to fight this trend line here, but space doesn't look horrible. The space looks like it has a little bit of a potential to say that, oh, maybe there is a change here, but that is yet to be confirmed. We're going to need to see some more price action, and we're going to need to see volume come in. Volume doesn't come in, and these moves just they might not have enough behind them to really get the space on a big trend change that we're all looking for. So for now, over and out.